In the aftermath of a deadly midair collision between an American Airlines passenger jet on approach to Reagan National Airport in Washington and an Army Black Hawk helicopter, let's talk with a member of the House Transportation Committee's Aviation Subcommittee, Arizona Congressman Greg Stanton.
We're still waiting to hear from Congressman Stanton, but there's a lot of things I want to ask him about, and that is, how often he uses Reagan National, if he feels safe using it, because there's been a lot of arguments over whether or not adding flights is really a safe thing to do here. Also want to ask him about President Trump's comments after the crash. And he is on the line, so let's go right now to Congressman Greg Stanton, who is a member, as we mentioned, of the House Transportation Subcommittee on Aviation. Congressman Stanton, thanks for joining us. Reagan National has one of the tightest airspaces in the world. There's been arguments over whether or not to add flights to that airport. So how often do you use Reagan, and do you feel safe doing so?
Jim, I fly in there every week. I take a red eye each and every time that I fly from Phoenix to Washington, and then I fly back later in the week, usually a Thursday or Friday evening. So I'm in and out of DCA every single week.
Now, there has been talk that because of the location of Reagan National that, flights should be actually going into Virginia or Baltimore instead, possibly closing Reagan. Is that necessary, or is it a conversation that we do need to have?
No, I don't think there's going to be a closure of DCA airport. Obviously, the number of flights coming in and out of there is going to be an ongoing conversation. That even, believe it or not, that is a conversation that has directly at Congress. We voted on that in this past Congress to add some additional flights from further away locations. I did not support that. I thought that DCA was busy enough and that the other nearby airports could take on that additional traffic. But it is a conversation we need to have. Obviously, safety needs to become first. It needs to be the highest priority in our aviation systems. Despite this horrible crash, we still have the safest aviation system in the world here in the United States. We need to keep it that way.
What part will your committee and your subcommittee play in the investigation, or do you wait for the results from the NTSB before doing any investigating?
No, that's not the case. So NTSB will do the official investigation that often will take a great period of time. It may take up to a couple years. They'll do a preliminary analysis. They'll give some preliminary thoughts in 30 days or so, but they've got to get this right. Number one, they've got to figure out exactly what happened. They're going to try to figure out how to avoid an accident like this in the future. They even do analysis of the airplane itself, how to design airplanes in the future that are as safe as possible. So NTSB has the primary. Now, we will often do a parallel investigation through the Transportation Infrastructure Committee in case there are policy issues that we need to deal with. When there were the international crashes that occurred a few years ago involving the Boeing MAX 8 planes, we did a parallel investigation, and we made changes to the safety oversight and inspections at a place like Boeing to ensure that the system is as safe as possible.
We want to change topics here, and I apologize for doing this in the middle of this, but President Trump told reporters yesterday he's planning to go ahead with 25% tariffs on Mexican and Canadian imports, and that is something that's it's going to affect Arizona's economy. Do you think that he'll go ahead with that, and why do you think he's doing this?
Well, the president said during the campaign he was going to do universal tariffs on Mexico and Canada. I thought it was a bad idea then. When he first became president, he reiterated that. And then he reiterated again just yesterday and said that those tariffs are going to go into place as soon as Saturday. Look, we know that there is a proposal to significantly reduce corporate tax cuts. We know that they want to reduce taxes on the wealthiest Americans. And apparently the president said his plan is to make up that revenue through universal tariffs. The problem with that is that's going to be a massive tax increase on working class and middle class Americans at exactly the wrong time. And in fact, one of the messages of the campaign is that Americans want their leadership to be working on lowering prices, not increasing prices. So I think universal tariffs on our neighbors at a time when we should be working closer together, United States, Canada, and Mexico, ultimately to win the economic battle with China, because China is our number one competitor, international competitor, when it comes to who's going to have the strongest economy on the globe. I think the closer that the United States, Canada, and Mexico can work together, the better we're going to do in winning that competition. Universal tariffs will be a step in the wrong direction.
All right. Thanks again so much. That is Congressman Greg Stanton, a member of the House Transportation Committee's Aviation Subcommittee, talking with us about the crash in D.C. and, of course, about tariffs here at home.
Thanks for watching Arizona's Morning News. Click to watch more from KTAR News and hit the button in the middle to subscribe.